Everyone, and welcome to another behind the scenes video from Seyenapse. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Aiyewa Tughu, and I am a 3D artist from Nigeria. I had the privilege of working with a team of experts from all across the world to create the game Create, and it was really a wonderful experience. And today I'll be sharing with you another experience I had while working on the fire element. So if you've played the game, you will notice that the fire element is one of the basic elements that you don't have to unlock. It's just there on the list, and then by combining it with other elements, you'll be able to unlock multiple and much cooler elements as well. So I'll be walking you through the whole process of how I started it from the basic concept to the final product that got into the game. Okay, so I'll try not to be too technical here. I hope you find it not too boring. Okay, so of course, like every process, we had to start with referencing. And what was quite the challenge here was because my background is modeling, so I'm very used to creating hard surfaces or assets. But then having to work on something that I couldn't model, it was quite a challenge. But I had to learn on the go, and we were pressed for time, and we had deadlines as well. So I went online and found images and found references, which is always a good place to start. And I went online to find videos to explain how fire worked, its burning process, and also some tutorials on fire and Unity. And my findings showed me that the best way to go about creating it was to use the particle system. So the particle system will just help me to generate the look and the feel that I was looking for. So of course we had to go through many testings, so many iterations to get to the final product. So my very first work was fire with knob. Now based on my research, it required you using maps or images to generate your particles. So although you had particles flying around, when you create a particle in Unity, it just looks like dots flying all over the place. So it's swapping out those dots with an image that looked like a piece of fire, if that makes sense. So each flame would be an image that represented the flame. So I'll just show you to make it clear what I'm talking about. Okay, so this was my very first work. I'll just zoom in here. Yes. Okay, so you can see that from a distance, yes, it kind of looks like fire. It has that, fire shape, that cone shape. But when you look at it over time, you would just discover that you could tell that this is just a particle system that is just generating particles that are fading off over time. So when I zoom in here, you will be able to see it more clearly. So you can see each individual particle as it fades away. So each particle just has an image that is attached to it. So you just swap out the particles for an image, but you can tell that it's very, 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 very plain. It doesn't look appealing. And by the time we move this, okay, for the testing period, by the time you move this into the game alongside other assets, you could tell that this stood out, and it actually broke the realism that we're going for. And also in the center here, I also created an orb. Let's see, okay, can move the thing aside. Yeah, so that it kind of looked like a sun. It kind of looked like a sun with fire all around it. But yeah, when the creative team looked at it, and it was like, it wasn't working, because technically, yes, the core is hot, but it doesn't actually have a core per se. So of course, that was the first iteration, and we had to swap that out. The second iteration is pretty much the same. It's just this obelisk. So you can tell from the name that it's obelisk. Yeah. So I thought, okay, by increasing the flame and by increasing the time it burned, maybe it would actually create the feel we're looking for. Because the first problem we had to tackle was the realism. How real was this element looking in game, or even to ourselves as the technical team that was creating it? So we could tell that, okay, it wasn't really working. You could just tell by just looking at it that you could tell that these are just images that are just fading off. It didn't capture that feel that we wanted within the game, because although we wanted it to be as low as possible so that it would not crash our systems or be heavy for the game itself. However, we could tell that no, this wasn't working. And so just to demonstrate that, if I come in here, let's go to fire. So you can see that we just had all the particles in the loop. So we're creating our particles, all the maximum particles, we're creating them, and then we're emitting. So I will just come down to render here to show you what I was talking about. So you can tell here that we are just generating all the particles from a particle sheet, which wasn't giving us the result we're looking for. And so we have to go back. I did more research and I was able to come up with this one. This guy looked very realistic and it actually captured the feel we're looking for. So we're like, okay, fine, this is a good one. We could work with this. But pretty much when you zoom in here, you could tell that it was kind of like wildfire. Okay, so like the kind of fire that you can just set on grass or in the bush and then it just burns rapidly. And we're like, okay, no, we want something that is more contained, something that looks more restricted. So when we're looking at it, we're thinking, okay, think of a torch, for example. So the flames on a torch, how it burns upward. So you can tell from this and this. So we wanted something that had this look, but was maintaining this shape. So it was kind of like merging these two together to come up with the final product. And then that was when we came up with this one. So we worked on it and then I was able to come up with this one. So you can see this is a whole lot smaller. It has the look and the feel of the third one, the third iteration here, but then it kind of maintains that burning upward shape. So it's not like wildfire that is being tossed by the wind. So this looks more like a flame. Let me zoom in closer. So this one here looks more like a flame that is being, hit by the wind. So it has lots of, tension from the wind blowing it. So it's just moving all over the place. It's not stable. But this guy, on the other hand, looks like, okay, yes, there's some wind work, but it's burning upward. So it's something that we can use. And you can tell from a distance that this looks a whole lot more appealing in game or even in testing compared to this guy's. And so generating this was pretty much the same way we got the first one. It was all built within Unity. So we didn't have to model any external assets and then import it in and then use that. We just created all our particles from the particle system and then altering the velocity over time, of course, altering the color over time as well. So you can see this color here, how it would fade over time. It changes from one hue to another. And then the rotation. We enabled this so we could see the flame, how it could spin around and have that realistic feel to it, compared to these guys that just generated particles moving upward. So creating the fire element was quite interesting because I learned a lot. I discovered more about how you could generate simple things or complex things just by manipulating the settings here in the properties panel. Properties panel, sorry, not in Blender here. Okay, in the inspectors panel. Better. Okay, so yes, that's pretty much it. So if you would like to see more of our videos, feel free to check out the YouTube channel. We've had more behind the scenes videos about like the snake element or the firestorm element. I believe the firestorm element would be quite an interesting one to look at. I recommend you watch that one, or you could just check out more gameplay videos. And if you haven't downloaded the game, please feel free to get the game and play it and have fun creating your own world. Alright, so that's it from me. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Tughu signing out. Bye.